Or if you're whistling at night, you'll summon some evil spirits or snakes. It happened. Hello friends and family, this is Megan Moon aka Charlotte Miiguk Saram Imnidang, and as of filming this video, I'm 33 weeks pregnant with twins. So you guys know Korea has a lot of really fun superstitions. I've made videos about them before, which you should check out. And I'm sure many of you guys have heard some of the superstitions, like if you write someone's name in red ink, they'll die. Or if you buy shoes for your lover, they will walk right out of your life. Or before some sort of test or assessment, if you have slippery foods such as seaweed soup, then you will fail. Because like slippery soup, you know, like slipping down, like falling down. Or if you're whistling at night, you'll summon some evil spirits or snakes. There's a lot of pregnancy related ones too. You guys are curious about it, so let's get right into it. Some very interesting pregnancy Korean beliefs slash tradiciones. Some of them are not valid today, but I will tell you which ones are valid today and are not. Anyway, let's get started. So the first one is just kind of a little interesting one that I heard, and that is if when you very first get pregnant, like in the first few weeks of pregnancy, if you start buying a whole bunch of baby stuff, then the baby will kind of walk out of your life or like run away from you, i.e. you will have a miscarriage, right? So you gotta wait until a little bit later in pregnancy to buy your stuff, which I think most couples do anyway, just because there's so much time. So the next one is, I don't know if you remember, but I made a video and talked about it a long time ago about how when Moon and I were engaged and our wedding was coming up, someone in Moon's family passed away, so there was a funeral. So when you're about to do something good in life, you're not supposed to go to funerals because bad spirits are going to latch onto you and the good thing that you wanted to have in life won't happen to you unless you throw salt at the car and at the people after they leave the funeral. So Moon and I decided to go to that funeral anyway, and all the in-laws brought like a whole bunch of like salt and stuff, and they like salted up our car, salted up us to like get rid of the bad, you know, evil spirits. Anyway, so the same thing applies for pregnancy. If you're pregnant, you're not supposed to go to funerals and stuff. So I've heard people saying that, you know, at funerals you can see pregnant women standing outside of the funeral, and then only the husband will go into the funeral because those evil spirits will latch onto you and you'll have a complicated birth, or something bad will happen, you know, to your baby. You would lose the baby, something like that. Stay away from funerals and other kind of bad luck things when you're pregnant. That's what they say. So another thing that I actually hear pretty often when I want to go watch like a horror movie, or I love action movies like shooting, stabbing, you know, war type movies. I don't know why, I like those things. But people are like, you're not supposed to be watching that. You're pregnant. When you're pregnant, you can only look at pretty things or good things or positive things. And that's because here in Korea, they believe that the baby kind of like sees and feels everything that you have an encounter. So you're only supposed to look at positive things. I still be watching my horror movies because I'm not superstitious in that way. But even one time, one of my Korean friends, who's not even that old, like same age as me, she went to a burlesque show, and I've always wanted to go see like a burlesque show. And then she was like, no, you're only supposed to look at, you know, good things. I think a burlesque show, maybe it's too like racy for you to like see, you know, as a pregnant woman. And I was like, you really not gonna take me to this burlesque show? So that superstition has been around since forever. Actually, back in the day, like way back in the day in Korea, they even took it even farther farther. Y'all know I don't English no more. One of those. And actually even the food that the pregnant woman ate couldn't have any blemishes or anything on it. So like if she was gonna eat a piece of fruit and let's say maybe it had like a little bruise on it or like a little blemish on it, they're like, you can't eat that because you should only eat good, like kind of perfect things you should only have around you, like with the baby. I would be mad because bananas taste the best when they're all like blemished up and stuff. I don't know if like that counts, like if the ripening counts, but yeah, basically you can only eat foods that are unblemished back in the day. And along the lines of them wanting pregnant women to only be exposed to positive things, if something bad happens in the family will even hide that from the pregnant woman so she doesn't know about any negative events or anything that could cause her any stress, you know, in pregnancy, because they feel like that will affect the baby as well. So I don't know, our family could be going through crisis and maybe they won't tell me. But I think that also kind of is more so back in the day. I think now they just think they don't want to add too much like extra stress onto pregnant women. So just things that are stressful, they kind of want you to avoid, so they might not tell you about those things. So one of the biggest pregnancy superstitions surrounds dreams in Korea. I feel like every Korean mom and like even like sister-in-law believes in the taemong. And taemong just means a birth dream. So apparently before you get pregnant, someone in your family will have some sort of dream, usually about some sort of big animal coming in. It's just, they're all animal based. They'll call you up and say, hey, I had a taemong, go check, you're pregnant, or you might be pregnant soon. I don't know, as far as I've heard, people are pretty like accurate on. Like my mom-in-law, she had a taemong that there was 2. She told us, she called us, she was like, I know you're gonna have twins, Megan, you're gonna have twins. She said, I had a dream. And then 2 like storks came into the house, and 1 stork was red. I guess apparently that means a boy. And then 1 stork, I don't remember the stork's color or like size, but it was a little bit smaller in size and a different color, which signified like for a woman. She's like, you're gonna have twins and you're gonna have a boy and a girl. And I was like, okay, mom, whatever you say. And then it happened. So I think every single country has gender predictions based on the belly shape and size. For us in America, I believe if you're carrying the baby high, they say it's a girl. If you're carrying the baby low, they say it's a boy. And in Korea, if you're carrying a round belly, they say that it's a girl. And if the belly's sort of kind of like out and a little bit flat, then they say that it's a boy. So they do have one of those kind of superstitions as well based on belly shape. It's just not how high or low you're carrying, it's round or flat. So this is just some like really interesting like kind of old school stuff that I heard about, like how they conduct birth and things around birth. And I don't know if you've seen traditional Korean dramas, but whenever people are giving birth, there's like 2 ropes hanging from the ceiling the woman holds on to, and she has like this cloth in her mouth and she's like trying to be quiet. I always wondered like why she gotta be quiet. And so I looked it up, and apparently when you're giving birth, like back in the day, obviously now, not so much, you're supposed to be quiet as to focus all of your energy on your chi, I guess, to have like a better, more smooth birth. So back in the day, it was this thing where you weren't supposed to scream or be like really loud during childbirth. With no epidural, because they didn't have it back then. Ooh, must have been difficult. And back in the day, people used to just give birth at their home. So after the baby was born, they would go out on the main door. From straw, they would hang peppers, the Korean peppers, gochu, if it's a boy, and they would hang charcoal if it's a girl. And then people in the neighborhood knew, oh, someone just had a baby here, if it's a boy or a girl. And they typically would stay away for about 100 days. Not quite sure why, but in Korea back in the day, 100 days was a very important milestone. I'm assuming if you lived to be 100 days, then the prognosis for, you know, your life would be pretty good, that you would like continue on. I guess, you know, back in the day before like modern medicine and stuff, maybe a lot of infants, you know, did die before that time period, which is why in Korea, even now to this day, they have what's called Pegir, which is a 100-day celebration that you have for your babies once they reach 100 days. Back in the day, the father-in-law were actually the ones who named the baby. So the father-in-law would name the baby, and it would have some sort of meaning according to, you know, the wishes that the father-in-law had, you know, for the baby's life, about, you know, being prosperous and things like that, etc. Another really interesting thing that I heard is if you jump over your baby, then your baby will not grow tall. I'm like, when would you have to jump over the baby? And then it's like, oh, I guess if the baby's like laying like on the floor, like in a little kind of pillow thing on the floor, and then you need to like get up and walk, and you like walk over them, then it'll keep the baby from being tall or something. And there's one that a lot of older Korean people believe. It's kind of like something that, you know, grandparents and great grandparents generation believe. Nowadays people don't really care about this or pay attention to it, but there's this superstition that if you drink a lot of coffee when you're pregnant, then your baby will come out being a little bit darker skin tone, which the Korean older generation, they wanted everyone to be like really light toned too. But nowadays, like, people tan in Korea, and there's like so many different types of looks that people like and go for, including like tan healthy looks that they call like konggangmi, which is like women who are not just like really skinny and pale like K-pop idols, but a little bit more like fit and like tanned, and they think that that looks healthy looking now. So it's just kind of one of those differences between like the old Korean great grandparent generation and young generation now. And here's a really interesting one. They actually take the placenta after birth. Back in the day, I'm sure there's some places that still do it now here in Korea, and I'm pretty sure maybe you could request to have it done or something now, but back in the day they would always take the placenta and they would burn it and they would take those ash, and then later on as the child got older or when the child was sick, they would take it and mix it, you know, with liquid and make some sort of kind of health potion, I guess, for the baby, because they thought that child's placenta has some sort of health benefits for that child. You know, as the child grows and like gets sick, it can help cure some of the child's ailments. So I thought that was really interesting. So the last one I'm sure you guys have heard of 1,000 times, and it is the food that every pregnant woman / woman who's just given birth has to eat like every day, 2 to 3 times a day, and that is miyeokguk, which is seaweed soup, which I'm sure I'm gonna get a lot of at the hospital and the postpartum care facilities, because they literally serve it to you every day, 3 times a day after birth. And apparently it's just because it has a lot of vitamins and minerals that your body needs to heal and repair itself after giving birth. Luckily it tastes good. Like, I love miyeokguk. I think if I hated it, I would like die at the hospital, because they give it to you for every soup when you're pregnant. But oh my god, Korean hospital food is so good. I think during the birth, when I have the hospital and the postpartum care facility, I'm just gonna do like every meal for like the week or something. That food just looks so good. Especially the postpartum care facility, since you're like paying extra for it. They be giving you some luxurious foods. And back in the day, I was an Arirang TV reporter, and we did a report on the postpartum care facilities, and so I got to go in there and like eat some of the food, and it was so good. Alright, so many of you guys were asking us what address you can send, you know, baby gifts or just cards and just things to congratulate us too. We felt kind of weird about it at first, so that's why we didn't really say anything. But we have an address that you guys can send stuff to. Obviously, it's not a requirement, but so many of you guys are so adamant saying, we want to send you stuff, girl. Give us an address. So here is the address. It's going to be on screen for a second, but in the description box is probably where you're going to want to check. Check the description box if you want to send us, you know, some baby stuff, you know, anything that you want to send. We're just grateful that you guys even think of us in that way to want to send something. So thank you guys so much for the love and support. If you have any other questions or videos you want me to make about being pregnant in Korea and stuff like that, my life here in Korea, then just let me know. Okay, so if you like this video and like to see more videos, please subscribe to my user page, which is down below. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram, Twitter, not on Snapchat because I don't use that no more. Like me on Facebook, and I will see ya.